Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Business and Balance podcast. Today, we're super fortunate to have my coach, mentor, friend, Steve Walker on the show. The man has come from the UK competing in bodybuilding championships, picking up titles along the way, from being a PT, all kinds of different careers, and ended up now running a gym and a coaching business in Calpe in Spain. An exciting life that I'm excited to delve into that seems to have started into fitness, rolled into business. He's met some amazing people along the way. So welcome, Steve.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here, my man. Absolute pleasure.
Great to have you, man. So you know what? I've got 1,000,001 questions because even though we've been, friends for a good few months now, chatting back and forth, it's always been a little bit of business and a little bit of pleasure, but not necessarily a nitty gritty. So what I actually haven't asked you yet, which I'm really intrigued to know, is how did you actually get your start in fitness?
Okay, so I got into fitness probably out of insecurity. You know, I was a kid that had eczema, asthma, allergies, got bullied a lot, and I really didn't have any confidence. And I grew up in the 80s, right? I was born in 82. So I grew up, one of four boys, and we would watch, when we were allowed to, we would kind of sneak downstairs. We'd watch, the films that went on at 9, 10 o'clock on the BBC. And you see, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sly Stallone, all, Dolph Lundgren, the old school action heroes. And I guess it pretty planted a seed in my mind. And I thought, when I'm able to, when I grow up, I want to be a strong man so that all these little insecurities kind of disappear. And a bit cliche, mate, but, I wanted to be the one that, got the girl that other guys looked up to. So I thought by physically becoming powerful, that would change things. And so when the opportunity, a friend of mine said, "Do you want to come to the gym?" And I think it was about 16. And, the old saying, just, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. Obviously, I didn't know the saying, but I guess that kind of, I thought to myself, right, if I lift weights within 3 weeks, I look like Jean-Claude Van Damme. So I thought, let me give it a go.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, mate, because I walked in the gym and I saw these absolute freaking monsters. Funny enough, most of the guys I saw at the time were probably not as big as I am now, but in my head at the time, they were absolute beasts.
Yeah.
I think half of them were roided up as well, to be fair. And I just tried to copy these guys, got into training, might have potentially injured myself, but it was actually one day when I bumped into a personal trainer. And it was quite new back in mid-90s, or late 90s, I guess. There wasn't many personal trainers around. It was a real kind of luxury item. And people always asking me for tips in the gym because I built muscle quite quickly, started at an early age, and I looked all right. And then I realised, okay, I should get paid to do what I was doing anyway. And then I kind of thought, right, maybe I'll get into a personal training course.
I suppose it's a similar story for a lot of people that manage to find a career in something that they're passionate about. Because similarly for me, really, I suppose, like you found something that you enjoyed and couldn't believe that you could get paid for this. That's pretty much me picking up the guitar. I was like, oh, hang on a minute. People will pay me to go out and do gigs and play and record and write songs. Cool. And so that's cool. So over the years, obviously, before we dive into the timeline of you going from figuring out that maybe you're going to be a PT to where you are today, what was there a pivotal moment that transitioned you from being I'm just into fitness to oh, now I'm into business. Now I like the hustle side of it. Okay, I want to make some real money out of this. I want to start actually, not just having to put the hours in, but how can I grow something sustainable and have a good life and all that good stuff?
Great question. I mean, by all intents and purposes, I should have been a multi-millionaire a long, long time ago. Unfortunately, I'm still not a multi-millionaire, but I'm working on it. But, I read all the books. So I remember my dad put me on to Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and that got me thinking about a few things. And I actually remember I used to listen to CDs, driving around in my little Ford Fiesta on the way to the weird and wacky jobs that I did. I mean, I don't know if you know, but I was a butler in a buff, which means I'd rock up with aprons, collars and cuffs and do all my weird and wacky stuff. I did some other ladies' entertainment jobs.
I thought you were dressed funny when you arrived today.
Exactly. I did a few weird and wacky things. But I can't remember how I'd heard about it, but I heard about this book, Think and Grow Rich. And I downloaded the CD, and I was literally playing the CD over and over again when I was driving around, and deep down it's getting into my mind. I started listening to Anthony Robbins and all that kind of stuff, and it little by little the circuits were going together, and it kind of made me think to myself that, yeah, I want to help people get fitter and healthier, but really I want to be able to. I always never had a clue what I wanted to do in my life. That was my biggest worry. So I thought, right, if there's something, if I can learn how to explain this, if I can learn how to help others solve this riddle, I'll really enjoy my work, because there's got to be more than just getting people in shape's part of the problem, but that's not all of it. It's one element. So I wanted to know what the others were.
Sure, yeah. So I think that plays out in loads of coaching roles, actually. I know you're close with people like Samuel Leeds and stuff like that. And I think if you're teaching and coaching in any area, there's always the good and the bad that goes with it. There's always people that are going to hate on it, and there's always people that are going to support it. But actually, if you find a little gap where you've been able to figure something out quicker than what the masses can, and then you can offer that, I've always thought that's so cool. Like that's such an opportunity, because there's something that you're very natural at, and you've obviously found a natural rhythm when it comes to fitness and growth. And if you can help people find the shortcut, then there's so much value in that.
You know what? Just to add to that, actually, just a bit of a thought. But I know a few teachers, and a lot of people, myself included, who suffer from that bastard imposter syndrome, despite the fact I've been doing 20 years. Like even tonight, you saw how I had a client message me saying that he's struggling to get the results that he expected. And as you know, I'm passionate about my job. So when I see that from a client, I'm upset. I'm like, right, what have I done wrong? We did this. And you kind of start to beat yourself up. I thought I had it all figured out because I've got loads of great results for people. Why has this not got, and all these little voices that go on in your head. And I think actually sometimes you just got to realise, as somebody that is in a position to teach people, all you've got to be is 5% further along the journey than somebody else to instruct that person. You haven't got to have it all figured out.
No.
Like I'm not somebody like Charles Poliquin, who gave numerous seminars, and you paid thousands of pounds a year to be qualified with this guy because he was the guru in fitness before he passed away. Rest in peace. I'm not someone like that. So you can always point to yourself and say, well, look, I haven't taught thousands of other personal trainers in fitness, so therefore maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe I shouldn't teach at all. But actually, you have to look at what you have achieved and the people you have helped, and realise just being that little bit along the journey. And if you're a teacher, or if someone like yourself, who, quite frankly, brother, I've got mad respect for you. I went into your office today, went to Guitar Gear giveaway, and I was blown away by the business that you guys are doing. Amazing. You're more than qualified to help other people. And I know I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here, but I just felt that needs to be said. Anyone out there wanting to teach people, wanting to inspire people, don't wait till you're perfect. If you're just that little bit further along the journey, the best way to get better is to teach others.
I think something that would be really valuable for a lot of people that are listening to this is, what are 5 hacks that people can do that will make the biggest difference for the least effort when it comes to health and fitness?
Okay, so again, imposter syndrome. I want to give maximum value. Now, there are multiple things you can do, and a lot of them are very, very obvious, but sometimes just reminding people to actually do it. So first thing, I guess, super easy one. First thing you do when you wake up in the morning is hydrate. So it's a nutrition thing, but we always reach for the coffee. Okay, we go straight for the coffee. We need that little quick fix. Hydrate. Everybody wakes up dehydrated. So straight away, that's going to help. Mobile phones, as I say, keep your mobile phone in another room. So remove your alarm clock. It's all about that first 5 minutes of the day. Don't check your phone for half an hour. Don't check your phone for maybe start with 10 minutes, but start with a small amount of time when you do not look at your phone, and take a bit of time just to be present and plan your day. Before you do that, it's going to be very, very hard because our brain is craving that drug-like dopamine fix. Very, very difficult, but it will make a big difference. Just take that little bit of time and have that little bit more space in the morning. So that's one, I guess, just your morning routine, making sure that works. Another thing to generally have in your life is, you always want to make the habits you want to avoid, you want to make those as difficult as possible. And you want to make the good habits as easy as possible. So in other words, don't wait till you've had a stressful day and you've got home to find that you've not prepared any healthy food. Because when your willpower is low, you're going to crave crap. So you'll go for refined sugars. You'll make the mistake of ordering a pizza, whatever. If you've got healthy options there, ready and waiting in front of you, you're more likely to make the right choice when the willpower's down. So you've got your morning, you've got the right choices, and then it's about things like training, movement. And here's a really, really interesting thing, right? What happens when we're happy? When we're happy, we do this. Smile, we look up, right? When we're sad, we do this. Now, you could maybe call this a hack, but what people don't realize is it works in reverse. So we can reverse engineer this. So if you want to feel better and you want to energize yourself just by changing your posture, by sitting up straight, standing up straight, we actually boost testosterone levels, we boost endorphins, and we instantly feel better. So the first thing you want to do once you've done your water is get your ass moving, man. I don't care if you're literally in your front room doing 5 half squats or something really namby-pamby like that. Get your ass moving, change your physiology, and straight away you'll change your brain chemistry. Okay, so that would be 3 good ones. Then food, of course, making sure that you're eating high protein meals 2-3 times a day, ideally 3 times a day. So you're getting the nutrients in that you need so that your body and your blood sugar stays level so you feel good throughout the day. And that's, again, going to allow your brain to work better. And then 5th one, there are so many. We've mentioned hydration already. We've mentioned movement already. I mean, the obvious one, it's got to be sleep. Just take time to get more sleep. And if you can't take time to get more sleep, then work on how you get better quality sleep. Understand that having caffeine for most people, I know you're not caffeine sensitive.
I'm a bit. I would say I'm the exception, not the rule.
You're probably the exception. You're also a dad to 2 small kids, which I understand from newish parents that sleep is, you can get it anywhere at that point. But sleep, if you can, get more sleep. If you can't, make sure you cut caffeine 10 hours before bed because that's going to affect your sleep quality. Alcohol within a few hours before bed, not great for sleep quality. Quit drinking water a couple of hours. And ideally, we want a bedroom temperature between 14 and 18 degrees Celsius to actually allow that hibernation response. So make sure, and you have full blackout as well. There's actually photosensors. Photosensors, is that a word? Even in your skin.
Right.
So you want to sleep in a room that's completely blacked out and wake up in your own time. Because if you're going to bed, if it's getting light at 6 and you're going to bed at 12 or whatever, and it's waking you up naturally after 6 hours, you're not going to get that quality 8 hours sleep. So, I mean, millions of things, but we'll stop with that 5 for now.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, who are listening, I signed up on Steve's 12-week program back in October and ran through it until the end of January. And I would say, probably, like, out of all the things that made the biggest change for me, I just did not realize that sleep is like a superpower.
Okay, let me flip this back at you, actually. I know that you're asking the questions,
Go
but
on.
I want to know. So before we met, you're already very successful in your business. You weren't in the great shape you're in now. And by the way, you're getting better and better shape, which I'm super freaking proud of. For me, thank you, man. For me, the biggest win if I work with a client is that by the time we finish with our 12-week program, that they look better. That's like the small win. The big win is the 3 months, the 6 months, the year after that we haven't continued working together, but they put those principles into practice and they're looking better and better. So you're looking way better than even when I saw you last. So very freaking cool.
Thanks.
But sorry, my question was, before we met, and before you had the fitness thing and the sleep thing, how were you so successful when a lot of these 5 elements that I've mentioned, the hacks or the lifestyle changes, we removed a lot of that from the equation. So how did you manage to achieve what you did without those?
Yeah, I think you've got, if it was like a triangle, right? You've got sort of health and fitness, relationships, and work. So the only reason I found any success business-wise was because I neglected my health and I neglected my relationships. So that was it. So I could hone in on one point of the triangle, and all I did was work.
Yeah.
And I hustled, and I would work literally from probably, my alarm would go off at 6. I'd pretty much work from 6:30 probably until 1 or 2 in the morning. Maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep, and somewhere in there I'd be a pretty shit boyfriend and eat absolute crap. I was still going to the gym. I've always gone to the gym, but like not doing the right stuff necessarily, and certainly not supporting my body with the nutrition it needed. No doubt about it. So I think it's very easy to do one point of the triangle. I think the challenge comes when you're trying to do all three. At some point, everybody in their life has to focus on one of those things. I think if you're going to do it, you've got to do it. So like when I jumped on board with you, obviously I couldn't just ditch the relationships because the kids would be furious. But I could, fortunately, afford to just put work to the side for a minute. I could let other people take on a little bit more of my load, meaning I had time to meaning I had time to commit to the gym, commit to the food prep. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I zoned in on that for a little bit. I think the balance side of it is tough, but yeah, that's pretty much it. I focused on that one thing and I let all the other things slide. And fortunately, I've got a legend of a wife who was quite happy and realized that I was totally zoned in on work. And she was like, well, I'm sure it's for a greater good. And she saw that. And it means we've got a great family life now because the sort of money thing's fixed. And then I was like, you know what? Like, relationship's good, family's good, kids are great, money's fixed. I'm an absolute state. It's time to sort this bit out next.
All right, so I guess I've got to ask you. So, what was the key thing that made you decide that you were going to, right, I'm now going to invest in my health and fitness? Because from my point of view, that's always the question. Like, why now? Why not 6 months ago? Why not a year ago? Because I only work now, and I'm very, very blessed, but I only work with businessmen, entrepreneurs, guys that are changing the world, that are freaking driven, but for some reason, the body doesn't match that equation. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the main driving factor, I've always wanted to be in shape. I've always craved it. It's felt like the piece of the puzzle that's missing. Because no matter what financial figure you hit, no matter how great of a friend, great of a husband, great of a father you are, there's still that little piece missing where I just wished I'd made the effort to do it. Like, and it just finally hit for me when Isabella, my daughter, got unwell and I ran out of time. I ran out of hours in the day. We were doing her radiotherapy for her cancer treatment in London, and I was working from, I'd sort of set my alarm for 5:30, work from 6 till maybe 7:30. Then I'd have to take her into the hospital at 7:30. She'd have anesthetic, go to sleep, have her radiotherapy. That would take up until maybe 2 p.m. some days by the time she'd come around because they have to do all the observations. Then we try and have a little bit of family time until maybe 6 p.m. Kids would have some dinner, go to bed. And then me and Megan were then both working from probably 9 p.m. She'd work for a couple of hours and then need to go to bed. I'd probably work through till 1 or 2 in the morning. At the same time, I'm working through like 1 or 2 bottles of wine or half a bottle to a bottle of whiskey every night, just because of the stress, the workload, and then sleeping, restarting it all again at 5:30 in the morning. And I realized like that there's not enough time in the day, but what I can control is my energy. I can be more positive. I can be more focused. I can be better with my systems and how I tackle the tasks that are filling up my plate. And the only way to do that was to become a better version of myself. So the second like we came home and she seemed like she was on the mend, I was like, I've got to get myself in. This is the time now. I'm going to get myself in shape. I'm going to turn myself into the just an absolute beast, so I can enjoy life. I can be like the best dad, the best husband, the best friend, still crushing it with the business. But now I'm going to be in shape, so I'm going to have more energy than ever, more positivity than ever, and that was what drove me to do it in the end, really.
And I've got to say, I mean, it's unusual for me to say it to a client, but I was shocked by your transformation. Even I was shocked. So I looked at the 6 weeks in was the funny one. I've never done a transformation halfway through the program and actually shared your transformation pictures halfway through, because at 6 weeks it was so freaking striking. I mean, hopefully you can put this up on this podcast and show people what you did. But it was absolutely freaking immense, man. So yeah, whatever commitment you made, along with my advice, kind of came together, and you just freaking created something. You did something incredible, man. So well done.
I just did what you said.
Yeah.
It was that simple.
That's right.
Which actually leads me on to my next question, which is, what are the 3 biggest mistakes you see people make in the gym?
3 biggest mistakes people make in the gym, I would say. I mean, number 1 is quick fixing. Quick fixing, right? So I'm going to the gym. Day 1, I do a bench press and I push myself to my max. Chances are I might get injured because I don't really know what I'm doing. Or if I do know what I'm doing, I'm going to get the technique right, but I'm still pushing too fast too soon. My body's not going to adapt. So what will happen is after 3 or 4 weeks of doing the same plan, I'm going to hit a plateau. I'm going to give up. Number 2, which actually you might swap place and actually become number 1, is setting your targets too freaking high too soon. I'm all about micro wins. I'm all about baby steps and momentum, because there's a psychology, especially with men. Men are very ego driven, right? So what happens when a guy tries something and it doesn't work, he'll say, it was shit anyway. The saying, a bad workman always blames his tools. Every bloke, when it comes to ego stuff, is a bad workman.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the gym and we'll like, oh, that piece of kit was crap. Oh, the coach didn't know what he's talking about. Oh, I couldn't be bothered. Oh, I don't need to build muscle anyway because birds like me. Whatever macho bollocks it is to excuse themselves, let themselves off the hook. But basically, they should have just set smaller goals, bite-sized goals, and held themselves back, and step by step by step got stronger. Not being the guy that had to bench 100 kilos on day 1 because Billy Big Bollocks next to me, who's definitely on steroids, is freaking doing 100 kilos, even though the fact he's only 15. If they and just been like, right, I'll leave the ego in my freaking locker when I walk through the gym door, and I'll just go step by step by step, because it's a tortoise and the hare, the old classic fable, right? Eventually, 1 year down the line, Billy Big Bollocks on roids is going to have all kinds of injuries and probably have given up the gym. And the guy that was Jimmy consistent will now be stronger than the other guy because he took those baby steps. But not only that, he's now got competence because he's consistently doing it. He's confident in what he's doing and he's uninjured. And so that number 2, I'd say, actually, I'm going to swap that and put that back in number 1. Really,
yeah, micro
wins is just consistency. And number 3, which is obviously a plug for me, but it's actually a plug for anyone out there that has the knowledge. But get yourself a freaking coach, man. Get a coach, or bare minimum, just buy a book that teaches you how to do it, and focus not on the quick fixes, but the tried and tested stuff. So if you are going to get a coach, go to somebody that looks like a PT, who doesn't look like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah.
Go to somebody who's got what you want. Like, if I want to be a multimillionaire, I'm going to speak to somebody like Samuel. I'll certainly speak to someone like yourself who's made a lot more money in their consecutive fields because they're very, very good business people. What I'm not going to do is speak to a guy that's read a book about making money who's got a net worth of way less than me, because that would be moronic. But people do. So do your research, look where the information's coming from, trust that person knows more than you because they're at a much greater level, and just be consistent.
What's your opinion on social media in the fitness industry? Because I think there's a lot in the female scope that gets glorified, where there's girls posting unrealistic photos with perfect angles, perfect looking bodies in the perfect Gymshark leggings, which we all know it's fairly obvious it's not realistic. And like if you're in reasonable shape, you can take a photo at a particular angle, but it doesn't get spoke about in the men's space quite that much.
Yeah.
And I know full well from friends of mine who are shredded and will have wicked 6-packs, and then they sit down on a bench and of course they've got a little bit of fat and a little bit of skin and a little bit of whatever that rolls up. It's completely normal, but you just don't take a picture of that moment. So how do you think social media has affected the fitness industry as a whole?
That's very interesting. What you said there is very interesting. I never thought about guys doing the whole angles. I mean, obviously, if I take a picture of my social media, I'm going to make the angles good. Thankfully, I built a good enough body that whatever angle I take, I'm not going to look like a fat bastard, because it is what it is. But you're right, you do get the lighting right. I mean, even right now, you and I are sat here, we're doing a podcast. We set the lights up right so it bounces off our cheekbones. You know, it makes us look better. I look 50% handsomer
Yeah.
right now than maybe I would walking around in natural daylight. So straight away, we all do it.
I did put the handsomer filter on your camera, so you're all good to go.
That's why I love you, man. That's why you're my favourite former client and friend.
But it's so challenging, like, because I get into the fitness content. I start looking at it. Obviously, then Instagram floods my feed, YouTube floods my feed, and before I know it, I'm full of all of these people and posts that are motivating, but could also be a little bit discouraging if maybe it isn't achievable, or maybe it is just from a particular photo. It's so hard to decipher what is actually just what's okay.
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line? What's normal? What should you be happy with?
So really, really great question. But I think inherently, we all know, like, if I'm 5'5" guy, I know I'm never going to be freaking Michael Jordan. I'm never going to be Dwayne Johnson. Well, I do anyway. And of course, that's common sense, right? No. Common sense ain't common anymore, bro, because people are that manipulated by some of this crap. It should be. So the first thing is just to wake up and realise there are limits to your genetic capability. But also realising that when you go on social media, you'll always post the very, very, very best picture of yourself, male or female. You'll take 5, 10, 15 takes with the right light before you post that picture. So understand that everybody else is doing the same.
Something in the mindset space that fills my head up quite a lot, and I think about it quite a lot.
Whiskey?
It's not whiskey.
Oh.
No, that fills up my glass, but not my head. Is actually a big part of why you're here. You're on this podcast. You're staying here for a few days. Is how each person is the average of the 5 people they spend the most time with.
Ooh, yeah.
And you're certainly in a position where you get to spend time with a lot of different people, be it people in a similar situation as me, trying to make a change, successful business people, entrepreneurs. And I'm sort of wondering, one, do you actually believe in that? Do you think that's a real thing? And two, how's that changed your trajectory in life, considering you've gone from PT in London, putting the hard shift in, working by the hour, to now being a high-level coach, working with high-level people? Has it changed your ambition? Has it changed your drive for money? Has it changed your anything around, like, the sort of passion around fitness? What's it changed in your life and your mindset?
So it's interesting. It's very hard to say which order this came about, because I've always known that we are the sum of the people that we spend most of our time with. I think inherently we realise, right, if we hang around with certain people, that we behave a certain way. We learn that as a teenager. We learn that as a kid. We know that deep down. But what we don't often realise is that we can change that. We think, okay, yeah, it's just who I'm around. This is my life, and I'm a victim to my own circumstances. And we talk from what's known as the external locus of control, psychologists call it. Internal meaning we have control, external meaning we blame everything else. But when you take the internal, you think, look, other than maybe my family members, I can change just about anything else. And I started to seek out certain people. I really did. I started to think I want to be around certain people that have things that I don't necessarily have. You know, like I envy guys like you. I envy guys like you that have done the business and the family. I really respect that. I think it's freaking awesome, and that's something I haven't quite figured out yet. But you know, I've got many clients like my guy Samuel Leeds, a guy I'm coaching now called Gotham, and he's just absolutely killing it in their business. And I want to be around those people, but also I'm very much about something it mentioned in the Think and Grow Rich, which is what he called the mastermind.
Yeah,
he speaks of where you have 12 people in different areas of life, but that could all add value to each other, and you naturally grow and you actually magnify the intelligence and the productivity. And there's a word that I love, which is osmosis.
Oh, okay.
Osmosis.
Yeah.
Which, for those of you that don't know, it means that we naturally, there are things in our brain called mirror neurons. Now, this is really freaking cool, right? You know this already, man. But mirror neurons are crazy because they've only been discovered recently. But they've done MRI scans, and they've shown that when people hang around each other. You can be in a different room. It's almost like telepathy.
Okay.
But when we spend time with certain people for long periods of time, certain areas of our brains light up in exactly the same way. So these mirror neurons literally mean that we start to match and think and feel like the people that we hang around.
But how has that changed you over the years? Because your group of 5 people, much like me, must have changed a lot.
It's interesting. I think that group of 5 people almost levels up in the way that you want it to level up, because you naturally seek out people. You know, if you're making 20 grand a year, you might find somebody that's making 100 grand a year, and you'll naturally gravitate towards that person. And you're making 100 grand a year, you think, all right, that guy over there is making £1 million a year. How can I befriend that person? But more importantly, not how can I befriend them. I read a book 2-3 years ago. It was called The Go-Giver, as opposed to The Go-Getter, right? And the book was all about adding value to people. And a crazy thing happened. So my dad's a vicar, right? And one of the biblical principles is, and apparently it's the only one thing in the Bible that you can test God on, right? Is giving money and you'll always get back. You'll always have that reaping and harvesting. It says there'll always be seed, time and harvest. So whatever we get is always, we've always got to sow the seed first. We don't expect the harvest when we haven't sown the seed, but most people do. So I was like, right, these people that I think can help me, what value can I bring those? And of course, I realised that these guys that were high stressed, they were out of shape, they're treating their bodies like a freaking amusement park. And I could add those guys value. And little by little, you step up, you step up, you step up. And then you think, right, okay, I'm now making X amount of money. But maybe there's another aspect. Maybe there's a spiritual aspect I need to work on. Maybe there's something else. And you naturally start to gravitate around those people.
So you've come from London as a PT, but I'm interested to know, firstly, how you ended up running a gym in Spain, running remote coaching, and how does that play out compared to living, working in the UK, running a business abroad? Is the mindset different? The people you work with? Is your day-to-day different? How's it changed your life as a whole?
Okay, well, firstly, I never knew that I was going to end up over in Spain. I had a folder on my computer called Life's the Beach 2020, and it was back in 2015, because I knew that having worked in a gym in London for many, many years, and at the time I was in a place called Bishopsgate, around Liverpool Streets, central London, you know, where the bankers work, and I'm underground, and I'm essentially in a dungeon. It's a beautiful gym, but I was underground. I was getting there at 6 o'clock in the morning, rammed onto the train like cattle with all the other depressed looking people on a cold morning, going into the city. I'm underground for 6:30 in the morning, caffeinated to the freaking eyeballs, and I'm basically in artificial light until 7 o'clock at night when I leave the gym after doing 12, 13 personal training sessions. So again, when you're selling your time for money rather than actually delivering a result, which I'll go on to, and doing crazy sessions, and you're walking out and it's dark again, and you're getting on the train, miserable, going home. It's costing you a fortune to get to work. You're paying high rents in the gym. And I knew deep down that by a certain point, I wanted to be in the sun and by the sea. So I had that folder on my computer. And then one day I went on holiday with a few of my guys, went out to Spain, because my grandparents had a place out in Denia. My mum and dad then got a place, which is near where I live now, Calpe. And we're there on holiday. And it's a lad's holiday, and being a lad with high testosterone, you know, there's a certain app with a little flame on it, which, you know, might be called Tinder, may not. I can neither confirm nor deny. So I'm having a little look on there, seeing what's around. And I met this woman there called Leonie. Turns out it wasn't her name, but, you know, we found it out later. She goes by, yeah, I know it's a Tinder name. I also found out this lady, by the way, actually worked directly for Tinder. So she knew how to play the algorithm. She built part of the app. I never told you that about her, did I?
Oh my God.
She worked for them in New York.
Well, you should be flattered then. So she knew how to work.
Oh, she knew how.
Yeah, but she knew how to work the app, and her decision was you. That's good.
Beautiful. Yeah. She probably knew how to work it, mate. So she algorithmed the crap out of me. So I was like, I've got messaging back and forth. And then, of course, I'm on a lad's holiday in the villa with 2 lads. I'm like, I knew that lads were into their training, because obviously we all train together. So I said, well, she was into her training. Said, we'll come see you. We had a little hire car. We'll come see you in Calpe down the road, 20 minutes. So we came down with the lads. We all worked out together. And I barely talked to her. It's actually the lads that were asking her questions, because I was cool, Fonzie like, you know. But we stayed in contact. Me and Zoe got on really well. And I came out to see her once a month. I came over because it was just a beautiful place, and she'd pick me up. We go to cool places and all the rest of it. And little by little, we got on better and better. And she said, "Look, I'm looking at buying a gym, but I don't want to do it on my own. Would you be interested in coming in it with me?" And I'm like, my brother owns 2 gyms, by the way, very successful gyms, but bloody stressful. And I thought I'd never want to actually be the owner of a gym, but I thought, look, I'm going to get to live by the sea. Yes, it's a massive risk. Yes, it's a massive pay cut, but it seems like serendipity because I've got this folder. 2020 is coming up next year. What could possibly go wrong in 2020? What could go wrong in 2020? Let me move to Spain.
Absolutely nothing.
And exactly. So I moved over there. We started a business, and yeah, it was really tough. The first year, we literally had to deal with. It was like someone out of a movie. You had 3 types of police: the Guardia Civil, the Policia Local, the Policia Nacional. And in Spain, it was way worse, by the way. You could not go outside your house. So I had to sneak on my motorbike around police blockades to go and work out in my gym on my own because we had the shutters closed and no one else could be around. And it was just ridiculous trying to get clients up at your house. But after that all passed, we got the gym, we got a few staff with a very different mentality to work than what we have in England. And it's been very, very tough with that. But little by little, Zoe's dealt with those. Business is going well. And then, praise the good Lord, I got a few clients online, decided to switch over. And then a few years later, I'm now making more money for my online clients than I ever made for the stupid hours. I'm working way less. But actually, one of the mentors that I had along the way, who, by the way, turned out to be an arsehole, guy called Glenn Bridges. Glenn, if you're watching this, I'll slap you round the face. Come at me. He basically, I paid this guy like 15 grand for a year's coaching. And at the time, that was a lot of money to me. That 15 grand hurt me. And I had to really push to pay him off, right?
It's a lot of money, full stop.
It's a lot of money, full stop. And he then decides that he doesn't want to run the coaching academy anymore about 6 months into it when I've already paid him off and owed me a lot of money. And then he got really nasty. What's an a-hole? But anyway, I digress. But one thing he did teach me, this Glenn guy, was that you're selling a solution to a problem. So you're not selling, do you want to train with me 2 times a week for a month? That's not what you're selling. Our goal is to diagnose. A real coach diagnoses, right, here's the problem. Here's how we're going to get there. The solution will cost you X amount of money. Yeah. And it's that mentality that's allowed me to deliver my programs online, get better results now than I ever did PTing because I'm actually going deeper and drilling down into what makes a person tick.
I would say, from an outside perspective, forget about the family side of stuff and relationships. If you're just a guy scrolling Instagram, it would come across to most people like you've got it all sorted. It's a beautiful life in the sun, by the sea, the nice Instagram posts of you jogging along, looking fit, looking handsome, running a gym, making good money. But what sort of goals are you setting yourself right now? Not for your clients, but what have you actually got in mind for Steve? What's the next step?
Okay, so recently I'm going to mention my client Samuel again, who I spent a couple of days with before that we met. Now, the guy is a bastard. And by a bastard, I mean, you know how some people just ask you questions you'll pretend to be annoyed about, and there are people that will drill deep down into what's going on in your soul, and they'll ask the questions that you know you need to deal with, but you really don't want to deal with, those deep questions. He's like, well, you were with your partner a year ago, you're still with that partner. What do you want for life? I know you want to have kids. And I do, man. I do want to have kids. I want to have kids and I want to start the whole relationship. And there's that bit of bitterness and resentment in me. But it's like, I always like stuff that I can control. Like I'm focused on my business, this, that, the other, and helping men and inspiring them. But I guess to have that whole holistic thing right now, I'm looking to figure out that holistic piece of the puzzle, you know, having all of that and legacy is a big thing for me. Is, you know, even as a young child as a teenager, the biggest thing that haunted me, my biggest fear, apart from being claustrophobic, but my biggest kind of long-term fear was failure to realise potential. Because there were always lots of things that I was quite good at, but I never quite made a decision on anything. and my fear of, procrastinating your life away. And okay, I'm doing a lot of good, and maybe it's a bit of that imposter syndrome, but actually feeling like that I've got so much more to give to the world. So I know I've not really answered the question. I'd like to say, and I've tried to do this, that I want to make £100 million and I want to have all of these cars and Ferraris. Truth is, I don't give a flying F about that. I don't give a crap about that. That's not what really drives me day to day. Yes, I want to be comfortable. Yes, I want to be at 45 in a situation that I never have to work again. But I also want to be in a situation at 45 that I am working almost every day, but purely on my passion and my dreams, which gives me energy. It's like you're into guitars, like you're a very accomplished musician. Musician. Maybe you're a little bit of both.
I wish I was.
Maybe that's what Megan saw in you.
I was.
The magic wand. There we go. There we go. Maybe that was accidentally on purpose. But so as a very accomplished musician, you can sit there and I'm sure when you jam on guitar, when you just play away, time just ceases to exist. And I think doing that true work that when you're in that state of flow, when you're doing stuff that you really love, I want to wake up every day and without even having to think about it, just be living a life of passion for what I love. There's always going to be little bits of crap you got to deal with. That's life. But feeling like you're living a life of purpose. In fact, it's a bit of a cliche, but I heard somebody say the meaning of life is to have a life of meaning. And it's a bit cheesy, but I kind of get it. And I think that's what I'm looking for. So the people that see me with the perfect life, yeah, he's in great shape. He's super confident. He's living by the beach. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. On a day-to-day, I swim in the sea every day. I get sunlight on me every day. I eat well. I generally feel pretty freaking awesome because my testosterone and my physiology is geared that way. But there are those moments of sadness where I envy guys like yourself who has the wife and has the family. And there are areas that I do still strive for. And, I never quite feel that I'm the complete man that maybe I was born to be. In fact, I feel that hell, my idea of hell would be going to a place and seeing everything that you could have become.
I'd say one of the only things I've taken away from the last few years that's made a real big dent in my mindset is coming to grips with the fact that growth is life. If you're not growing, you're dying. If you've got to be moving up in the world or doing something, and it doesn't matter what that is, that can be a financial goal, it can be a physical goal, it can be a goal to be a better husband, a better dad, a better boyfriend, a better coach, a better mentor, whatever it is, you've got to be progressing. I just don't think that ever ends. Okay, Mr. Steve Walker, I have 5 quick fire questions for you.
Shoot.
I want fast answers.
Okay.
No procrastination.
Okay. All right.
Let it fire from the brain. Your favorite book or podcast that you would recommend to someone?
Be useful.
Nice.
Just popped in my brain quickly, yeah. So we'll go with that.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's new book. If you'd asked me to think more, I might have come up with something else. But right now, can I do a very, very quick one? A very quick one. How to win friends and influence people. Cliche, but anyone wants to get ahead, got to read that book.
Yeah.
It's a psychology of success.
Dale Carnegie, classic.
Dale Carnegie, so good.
I do agree though. Arnie's latest book is a banger. Yeah. I listened to the audiobook version of it and it's unbelievable what that dude has achieved. Unbelievable.
I completely agree. Why do we not buy cigars tonight?
I have no idea.
I'm really pissed off now. No, whiskey without a cigar.
More than that, why don't I have Conan the Barbarian's sword on my wall? I feel
because
like
you're a failure, mate.
I feel like such
you're not a complete man.
Okay, what habit have you developed in the last year that's made the biggest change in your life?
Both intermittent fasting and fasting. I've done 3 72-hour fasts. I've been doing a 16-hour fast, 8-hour eating window for the last year now. I find it's easier to lose weight. It's way easier to get cut than it used to be. I'm not having to stress out about the 6 meals a day that I did back when I was a bodybuilder. And interestingly, I'm not losing muscle mass, which is crazy because I thought I'd be getting catabolic.
No,
It means break down a muscle, for those of you who don't know.
I am a big proponent of intermittent fasting for sure.
Cool.
Okay, number 3. Hit me with a fun fact that people listening to this, watching this, even people who might know who you are, would not know about you. What's going to shock them when they find this out?
I'm incredibly gay. But for true though, fun facts about me. I auditioned for the X Factor and I got through to the second round. It's about 15 years ago. But I currently have a song on Spotify, and it's called Gratitude. Now the album is called Gratitude by Jane Walker and Family. So my mum and dad were out in Swaziland 15 years ago, which is kind of South Africa, Zulu territory, on an orphanage. And to raise money, they wanted to make an album. So my mum sings on it, I sing on it, my dad sings on it. And the album's called Gratitude by Jane Walker and Family. All the proceeds go to this orphanage in Swaziland. So obviously buy it, unless you're a horrible human being. I do a really cheesy cover of Dance with My Father, which has had over 500,000 downloads in North America and makes us about $2,000 for the orphanage a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. I like that one. Okay, quick fire question number 4. If you could have a coffee, a whiskey, whatever it is, and a chat with anybody, be it past, present, they may be deceased, they may be currently alive, who would it be? Anyone in history?
Oh, it's just got to be Jesus. Cliche, but it'd have to be Jesus. And if I couldn't literally sit him in his physical form, as he was 2,000 years ago, right here. If I couldn't have him, I would actually take somebody like who learned from me a lot of his teachings, someone like Gandhi. I'd love to kind of just learn from someone like that.
Final quick fire question. What is your current main goal? What are you aiming towards?
Okay, so my current main goal is to build a tribe. I really want to build my tribe of men. You know, big part of my job that I love is spending time with guys like yourself, guys like Samuel, guys like Gotham, guys like Luke, guys like any of my clients that I can mention in a long, long list. That I get a lot from being around those people by that osmosis. But also, there's a lot of guys that really lack confidence, the guys that need that bit of a push to just move forward. So just to be around more people that I can help, because I'm always the happiest when I'm helping other people. And that's one thing I've realised from the happiest people I've ever met, my mum and dad. They've devoted their life to helping other people. And I think that's the real freaking boss move.
Yeah, man, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. Okay, I think it's probably time we wrap this up.
Nice.
Steve, thanks so much for swinging by the studio and dropping knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb, letting us in behind the curtains a little bit of some of the interesting things. I have to say, some highlights for me are definitely the Spotify song there. Little bit about the butlers in the buff.
Yeah.
And just life from being somebody driving a business in the UK to moving out to Spain to just crushing it, man. It's awesome. It's been really cool.
Can I just put a tiny footnote onto that?
You can footnote all you want.
It hurts me and it pains me. But the best thing that I can say is the Gandhi quote, which is be the change you want to see in the world. But I'm going to drill down a little bit more and not leave you with a complete cliche and explain that a little bit more. So I've had an epiphany, right? What that means is you've got to love the journey in life. If you are the change, Jacko said, I'm starting with a man in the mirror. If you are the change, if you focus on daily appreciating what you have, focusing on giving value to other people, the rest of the gaps will be filled in. Essentially, what I'm saying is that money or anything you want in life is the thunder to the lightning of the value that you give to the world. So if you want something, put it out, it's going to come back.
I love it, mate. What an amazing way to round it up. Steve Walker, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, brother.